back to the second version of Mr. Think Smart Show with Virgil Pearson. This time,
the one and only.
This time, Mr. Virgil, let's talk about your career as of right now.
As of right now.
But hold on before you go. You had a journey. We are now right now in your office at the illustrious Harris-Stowe State University.
That's right.
Which you are now, give me your title.
Director of Housing and Student Conduct.
Listen to that title. Say it again.
Director of Housing and Student Conduct.
My dude. So, let's go backwards though.
Okay.
When I met you, you were a student here at Harris-Stowe State University.
That's right.
You graduated, we got you across that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then you worked in for the VA for a while.
Worked in the VA hospital. I interned to my junior and senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Got a job at the VA about 6-7 months.
Right.
Then that's when I got the job at Lincoln University.
Right. Then you went to your first HBCU, which is Lincoln University. Let's talk about Lincoln University just for a second.
Okay. What you want
So,
to know?
your experience at Lincoln prior to coming, how long were you there?
I was at Lincoln 4 years.
You was there 4 years? It was 4 years?
4 years, man.
Wow. I thought it was like 2 or something.
Nah,
4 years.
I think it's 3.5, 4. What's that, 14? Yeah, about 3.5 years.
Oh, 3.5 years. That's still a
Yep.
good time. What did you learn at Lincoln that makes you a better director now?
Woo! What didn't I learn? Man, I could honestly say at Lincoln I bumped my head a lot. I learned more about myself, my tenacity, my ingenuity, who I was as a man and individual, and how I fit into society and learning my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether that's connecting with black men or just connecting with students from different backgrounds, man, and just help develop them and get them to the next point in life. You know, that's what my passion was.
That still is your passion?
Still is. As you climb the ladder in higher education, and on the administrative side, you still have the connection with the students. It's just not as deeply rooted. It's just like a plant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have your roots that go first.
Mm-hmm.
So my roots were with the students. You know, I was in the trenches hard at Lincoln, man, and it was. Anybody tell you, I earned my stripes there.
Right.
And so as I grow and I flourish up into these next levels, man, I'll never forget where I came from. I'll tell you that. So I would never ask somebody to do something, one, that I have never done or I'm not willing to do. And so I would still do what I did, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be up late at night with the students, play cards with them. Pre-COVID, of course. But just having that connection with them, man. And you really understand who they are, where they come from, what they've been through, and how they're trying to navigate that journey. And so your past experiences can help them overcome certain things. You know, just learn how to be gentle with people.
So basically, your experience at Lincoln was like my experience here at Harris-Stowe when I was working in the hall.
Definitely.
Yeah.
A little different.
Mm-hmm.
The culture here is more calmer and settled. You know, we're in a building with more administrators versus me was just in a building. First got to Lincoln, it was me, you had a dance manager and an overnight person. You know, so things transitioned after which then it just became me and paraprofessional staff, resident assistants, which was still good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had the chance to really train them and develop them and operate and run a building. You brand it the way you want to. You know, director at the time gave us a programming model that we followed. We did the programming piece, but I was more of the operations, hands-on guy. And so I would be connected with all the students around the residence halls and see what's going on, what's the tea, what's the mix, you know, how y'all doing, you know, what y'all trying to get into, you know, don't get in trouble, go to class, get involved in this, get involved in that. So it was a good time, man. I learned a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, higher education. I tell people all the time, especially young new professionals, when you get to a certain level, man, it's a game of trust. So I've seen people bringing their own team. I've seen people keep certain people around them. But it's really a game of trust, man, because you live in a fishbowl in this industry. And so people are watching you and judging you based off what are you teaching them. They want to know, okay, if you tell me not to do this, but then you turn around and do it, I'm going to judge you for that. And so you have to be cognizant of what you do and how you do it, even when you're not at work. Even when you're not in this role in higher education, people are watching you because you're changing lives. Mm-hmm. People are trying to see, what are you preaching to me? And are you being consistent in your own words outside of your job, rather than just telling me something while you're at work? Mm-hmm. So it's just being consistent across the board.
I like it's really good time. I like that. So then you got the opportunity to come back home?
I did. Got the opportunity, got a phone call, said, hey, Virg, got a position open. Would you be interested? I'm like, oh, yeah, let's do it. Mm-hmm. Came back to Hornet Nation, man. Good time. And from there, it's just been still growing and still building. Each day I learn more and more about myself. You never stop learning in this field. It's something new every day. Mm-hmm. Something new every day. Like this morning I woke up. I faced many challenges today, and I was just like, that's just until it's not going to always be in a housing perspective. But it's just, you got to fight for the students, man. Whatever they need, and if they get to the next level, make sure they're comfortable. You have to provide a great customer service, I don't know if anybody has ever read the book called The Golden Standard, based off the Rich Carlton, man. You have to create an experience for people once they come to your establishment. And that's what I'm trying to do for the students that I serve here at Harris-Stowe State University, is create a golden experience.
Man, I will say this. You all do an amazing job, because you all have a lot more value now. Like the school has went up so much since working here. But it was always my vision to be a part of that movement. And I think I'm still a part of the movement, because I still come back. I give back to my university. I give back to my HBCU.
Joe, what you got to realize, man, and I hear a lot of older alums saying, well, we didn't do this or we didn't have that. But you got to understand, at some point, you all planted a seed. I planted a seed that got us to the fruition where we are today now.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
The students here are planting seeds that's going to, somebody's going to stand on their shoulders. And so it's just a ripple effect.
Exactly.
One man plants a seed, another man water, and God gave us the increase. And so as 100%. We continue to grow, man, it ain't just because you didn't have this luxury or necessity when you was here, but what are you doing to provide for something for the next person?
Exactly.
I preach to my staff, my students. If I do something for you, all I ask you to do is pay it forward. Do it for the next person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A kind gesture, a kind act.
You're speaking so much truth, because that was my mentality while I was here. Because I did talk to a lot of past alum, and they didn't, and I hate to, to talk down on some of our alum, but and it wasn't a lot of them, but they was like, well, we didn't get that, so I don't want to help to move forward. Like, you don't want to help make your school better. You don't want to help the future of the institution you came from to be better. Like, I was excited about helping. I was excited about creating things. People don't know, I came up with the homecoming strategy and blueprint. Y'all did. Y'all
definitely did, man. I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm not the story one. I said all the time, I'm like, don't forget, I was a part of a lot of things that was here that wasn't started that they still doing now. And I appreciate it. I don't like, oh, they need to give me credit. I give my credit when credit is due. I really give mine from God anyway.
Don't expect the seeds that you plant today that you will harvest them tomorrow.
Exactly.
And
there
so, you go. I don't know how I would say it, but it's just like, watering a garden, man.
It's exactly what it is.
You got seed time, and you got harvest time. So even in planting a seed, you got to till the ground.
Brother.
So how can you transfer that message into your own life? You got to work for something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
You got to turn some things over
mm-hmm.
to make the dirt fresh.
Brother, I know, because I
plant the seed.
Hey, I'm all about the garden. When the good book, the Bible says, keep the garden, it was talking about multiple gardens. Garden of the mind, garden of the body, garden, the physical garden, the garden. Man, you create the garden.
You got to. And we live in a society and generation now, man, that people do not realize, especially this generation now that I particularly serve, man. You have to teach these young people about seed time and harvest.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, and I think that's something you really go encouraging in your Think Smart and Read, man. You got to realize you have to work for what you want. It's just not gonna come by night. And then when you look at science
Mm-hmm.
and theology, and you combine the two,
Man,
they both tell you you gotta work for something in order for it to grow. You gotta nurture the seed. You gotta water. You gotta give it proper sunlight, proper care. You gotta be consistent. You have to be a good stewardship. You know. So even with that, man, and even recently, I've learned something about that whole process, man. And it sometimes certain plants and seeds take a while to come through the dirt.
mm-hmm. And that's natural. Natural, certain plants you certain seeds you sow, based on how the plant is, it takes it a little bit longer to come up out the ground because it has to grow more roots. It has to grow more roots.
And sometimes, watch this, Joe. I have a lot of students who might come to college their first year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, might not graduate for another 2 to 3, or let's say, I take that back. They might not graduate. They leave school and come back with 5 to 6, 7 years. Okay, I still planted a seed
Mm-hmm.
in their life. You know, whether they like it or not, somebody's gonna water it, and at
Mm-hmm.
some point, it's gonna speak to
Well,
something.
now you talking my language. Keep going.
I did, you know, and over time, it's gonna come up out the ground.
Yeah.
You know, so people have the opportunity to till their own ground,
Mm-hmm.
or let life till it for you.
Man,
And that's a deep word right there.
brother, you finna go through another. We finna go through something else.
You hear me? And you gotta understand, man. Either you can humble yourself and be a good student of what God gave you in that dirt process,
Mm-hmm.
or life will teach you.
And that'd be some hard lessons because it already be a challenge. I'm not gonna say a struggle, but a challenge. Even when God is teaching you the thing, it's already a challenge. He wants it to be challenging because He wants you to see that it does take hard work. But if you allow life to do it without that motive of pushing from a higher power from God, brother, it's a whole nother story.
Man, another story.
It's
I
a
think,
whole
I
nother
think
story.
that we've all been there. And wrapping back around to my career, as a student, I learned certain things and skills that was transferable from student leadership positions that were transferable to my job at the VA. And then from there, I learned a set of skills of communication and how to navigate in a professional world, dealing with some things with a supervisor who I necessarily really didn't like, but I had to go through the process and learn something about me.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, you know, even when you're under bad leadership in certain areas, understand why you're there. What are you learning? You might think it's bad, but sometimes it's the high power, high being of God teaching you something about yourself that only you have to go through this experience to actually recognize.
Exactly.
And so even with that, man, it's a blessing just to learn. The most thing you could ever go through in life that is very inspiring is learning who you are.
Man, we gotta end it on that, brother. We gotta end on that's perfect.
You gotta learn who
You
you
gotta
are.
learn who you are.
And if you don't know who you are, you will never grow to who you are supposed to be.
There you go. There you go. You know what, Virgil? I thank you for this interview, man. Telling me your
Anytime,
journey.
man.
I mean, your journey, brother. You know, I'm gonna be doing this all across the country, all across the world. I got so much stuff coming up, and I know that I'm gonna have you a part of it because, for one, Virgil, what people don't know, you're family.
Always.
You're family, and we got some things coming up that's gonna be huge.
Hey, listen. Eyes have not seen,
Man.
nor ears have heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of man what God got in store for you.
I appreciate that.
I
man.
appreciate you, man.
Yes.
Mr. Think Smart, Mr. Josiah Jerome Calhoun. I'm the host right now. Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Think Smart TV. I'm your host, Mr. Virgil Pearson, Director of Housing Student Conduct at the illustrious Harris-Stowe State University. And we go check this thing out, man. Holla at your boy.
Man,
Talk back.
Right. We salute the divinity in you, and we'll see you next time on Think Smart TV.
Peace.